Hi friends, it's Terry Stewart, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, located in the U.S. in Central Maryland. So I'm excited to be here with you for the Global Share Fair. This is the July 2025 event. I have a technique that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. It's called Emboss Resist. So we're doing some heat embossing, some blending, some other neat things. So let's jump in. So my project today features the Gallery Blooms stamp set, and this is found in Stampin' Up's 2025 to 2026 annual catalog, and I just love these floral images. I've used this one a lot. I'm using it in my project today. I've also used this one, I think this one. Yeah, I just love it because it's very versatile. You can basically make any card type you like. And then we have some stamp set. This stamp set is an online exclusive elements of text, and I've been loving these fonts, the distress look, and I've used, I think, all of these in various cards. And then another online exclusive is the More Messages bundle, and this is great. I mean, it has all these great sentiments, and then it's one single stamp. You ink it up. Let's see if I can open it. You ink it, one stamp, and then run it through the die. It's the die that comes with it, and you get a boatload of sentiments in one go. So it's quick and easy, and I love it. So let me show you the card that I'm making today. And as I said, it's a Emboss Resist. So I've used the text, the elements of text stamp, and then I stamped the floral image from the Gallery Blooms on top of it with and heat embossed, clear heat embossed. And here is the sentiment from the More Messages. And then yeah, so let's get started. My supplies today are a half sheet of Lost Lagoon cardstock scored in half, a piece of gray granite, and then 2 pieces of basic white. All the measurements for this is in the PDF for this event. Just ask the demonstrator who invited you to this event, and she'd be happy to give you that PDF. And we're going to start with stamping, and I'm going to stamp on my basic white. I think actually inside and out, yes. So we're going to stamp on both of these. And I'm changing it up a bit. My sample here, I used Mossy Meadow for my elements of text stamp. I think it's a little dark, so I'm going to try to lighten it up, and we'll see the difference. So I'm using Smoky Slate, and so with this kind of circular text, I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to stick this piece just to protect my workspace, because I like a pristine workspace when I'm filming. So, and this I'll just use the back side for the inside. So I'm going to try to make about half. So half the stamp is on my front. Give this a little press. Perfect. So it definitely is lighter. And then this is going to be my inside piece. So I'm going to flip that over and bring in my Lost Lagoon and my Gallery Blooms. So I only want to do the top part, so I'm just going to ink this up. I'm going to turn my front piece over again just to protect my workspace, and put that single bloom down here in the corner. That looks about right. So give that a little press. Okay, nice. So I have my elements of text. I have my insert done, and now we can move on to our Emboss Resist technique. And that is also going to be on this white piece. I'll put this over here. So for this technique, I'll be using Versamark clear embossing powder. Now this is an old packaging, but it's clear and I still use it. I really am looking forward to getting some wow embossing powder because I understand that the granules are smaller and it just gives a very nice emboss. And I'm using the Embossing Additions kit, which comes with this tray, a brush, reverse tweezers, and embossing buddy. So I'll be using the embossing buddy and the reverse tweezers today. And the embossing buddy, it helps take out static electricity so you don't get any stray marks. So you just kind of pat that around where you intend to emboss. So I'll put my embossing buddy away. So now I'm going to bring back my Gallery Blooms stamp. I'm going to use the Versamark on it, and because it's a larger image, I'm going to take my ink pad right to my stamp. Now this is a clear ink, so it may be difficult to see it once I stamp on this basic white cardstock. And I kind of want to center this. Center this image and stamp. And this is a thicker thicker ink, a Versamark ink, so it does not evaporate quickly, which is why we use it for embossing techniques. So just give a little press, give a few seconds actually to transfer, and then lift your image. And you probably can't see, it's very, very faint. So now, let me bring in my tray and my clear embossing, and I'm going to sprinkle my embossing powder over that stamped image. And pour as much as I can back into my container. Tap off. And let me close that container so I don't get any more spillage. I'm going to take my reverse tweezers from my Embossing Additions kit to hold my cardstock, and I'm going to bring in my heat tool. And this might get a little noisy, and then I'm just going to heat my image until that embossing powder melts. So right now it's kind of dull, it's a powder form. But once the heat hits it, it will transform it, melt it basically, and make it clear. It's just like magic. So I just want to go over my whole image to make sure that all the powder melts and becomes shiny. So once it melts, I'm moving to a different part of the image. You don't want to overheat it because it can burn, and when it burns it just flakes off, and then it wouldn't be suitable then for the emboss the resist technique because there's nothing there to resist. Okay. Now you should be able to see that shiny embossed floral image. Fabulous. Now it's time to move on to the resist portion of my tutorial. So I'm using the Lost Lagoon ink with a blending brush. And I'm going to dab my blending brush into the ink pad and then swirl it around that embossed image. And the more ink we lay on, the more the image will be revealed. So it's just a matter of continuing to lay on the ink, blending it in, so the cardstock becomes darker from the ink, which really makes the embossed image that's showing the white cardstock below pop out. Continue with the ink until you get the color get the depth of the ink that you like. Just keep coloring, adding ink, blending the ink until the depth of color is what you are looking for. And once you're satisfied with the color, bring in a tissue and go over it, because the ink is laying on top of that embossed area. It resists the ink. So you can clean that up with a tissue. And now we can start to assemble our card. Beautiful, beautiful technique, isn't it? I just love it. I hope you do too. So taking my Lost Lagoon card base, I've scored it in half. I'm going to burnish that score mark. Just crisp it up a bit. I'm adding some adhesive to my front piece. Adhere it to the gray granite layer. Because it's been heat embossed or under the heat tool, it is a little wavy, so I might just give it an extra press with my fingers to straighten it out and hold it down to my layer. Now I can adhere that to the card front. Just centering it left, right, top, and bottom. So I've made my insert the same size as the card front, just so when you open the card, it's a bigger border. I think it just adds a little interest to the card. Again, you can see the back part where I did used it as a scrap paper, but you can't see that once it's glued down. Okay. Okay, so now to finish off, I told you about the more messages. So I have cut a bunch of those. I did the whole die, the whole stamp, and then die cut. So I have all these sentiments to choose from. I've used the Forever Friends. Which one do we want to go on this card? I think we're going to use Always Here For You. So put that away. And then with some dimensionals, we can adhere that. I am the queen of dimensionals. Just about every card I make has dimensionals on it. It's my favorite crafting item, and if I was on a desert island, I think I've said this before, that's what I'd want to take with me, is dimensionals. It's just my go-to product. And I'm going to put that down here at the bottom, kind of cover up that stem here. And for the last little bit of embellishment, I had these basic gray and smoky slate pearls. And I'm going to use my take your pick tool and pick up a large smoky slate one. Put that up here in the corner. Get one of these smaller smoky slates, and then put a third one down here. Things in a triangle, draw your eye in, is visually pleasing. So there are our cards. Yeah, I think I like the smoky slate a little bit better than this Mossy Meadow ink. Just more subtle. And now, as I promised, a quick catalog tour. The annual catalog. And so the gallery blooms, or beautiful gallery, starts on page 52, and you can see some of the beautiful projects that can be made with this suite. Now, I have just used on page 54 the gallery blooms, this stamp set down here. This is the image I have used. And then on page 102, you take your pick tool. That's what I used. My bone folder down here is down in the corner. Take your pick tool, bone folder. I think that was all I used on this page. Oh, that was the other thing. It's the heat emboss tool. You can't miss that. 102. So 102 gives you the heat emboss tool, the take your pick, and the bone folder down here. Very nice page to know. And then on page 129, we have the blending brushes. I actually used a larger one. And now we go on to page 131. Memento ink is what I used for the more messages when I did that whole big stamp set and cut out the dies from it. Versamark, we used the Versamark for the heat emboss. And then moving on to embossing powder, page 133, the basics, I used the clear embossing powder. And then moving into cardstocks, on page 137, use basic white cardstock. And then on the next page, gray granite cardstock. And then up here on page 138, Lost Lagoon cardstock and classic ink pad. I believe those pearls are another online exclusive. Yes, the basic pearls are the online. So for online exclusives, that would have been the texture elements of text, the more messages, stamp set and die bundle, and the pearls, the smoky slate and granite basic gray, as well as the Additions embossing kit. Thank you so much for joining me on this global share fair. I hope you enjoyed this project technique. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified the next time I bring you another fun project. And until next time, remember, stamping is fun. Bye.